So, back when I started this series, I carefully planned out which controllers I would talk about in each episode. I had it all balanced out, so there was roughly the same amount of content per episode. That was back in October of 2014. Since that time, Nintendo decided to make a new 3DS. Which means I had to rewrite the episode. Thanks, Nintendo. Let me set the scene for you. It's the dawn of the 21st century, and the long-running console war between Nintendo and Sega has finally come to a close. If only it was Nintendo that had dealt the final blow. Sega's final home console, the Dreamcast, was outdone not by Nintendo, but by Sony and their PlayStation 2. Despite the Dreamcast's robust hardware and great lineup of games, it lost because it was just a game console. Whether they realized it or not, by putting a DVD player into the PS2, Sony had started a movement that would change the direction of the gaming industry and forever separate Nintendo from the rest of the herd. The PlayStation 2 was not just a game system, it was a media hub. From this moment onward, Nintendo would be the only company to build their consoles solely around games. As if the rise of Sony wasn't enough, a third console developer had picked up the shattered pieces of the Dreamcast and built a new, more powerful system. Microsoft's Xbox would reintroduce America into the new three-way console war. Nintendo's new console was a tiny 6-inch cube that packed a lot of punch for its size. The GameCube launched with an array of technically impressive games, including Luigi's Mansion and Star Wars Rogue Squadron 2, the latter of which could give the late Xbox title Halo 2 a run for its money. While the GameCube ultimately wouldn't bring Nintendo the success they had hoped during the 6th generation, its innovation was pivotal to Nintendo's future. The GameCube controller was, at a glance, of a standard dual analog design, but it did have one pivotal difference. The face buttons were not arranged in the diamond pattern that had served Nintendo for so long. Instead, a large round A button was orbited by a smaller circular B button and two bean-shaped X and Y buttons. The concept being that the player's thumb would naturally rest on the A button and have quick access to the other face buttons. It also encouraged the development of games with simple control schemes focused around that single A button. Nintendo's dual screen experience would also come to fruition during the 6th generation. The Game Boy Advance link cable allowed you to plug your GBA right into the controller socket of the GameCube. This could be used for a variety of things, such as downloading small games onto the GBA, being used as a controller for certain games, or even granting the player a second window into the game. Any of this sound familiar? With GameCube sales failing to meet expectations, Nintendo was eager to enter the 7th generation. And boy did they enter it.
Nintendo's latest console goes on sale just after midnight.
Just a few hours, the line went from a handful of people to well over 100.
Despite being only slightly more powerful than the GameCube and running games at a mere 480p, the Nintendo Wii decimated the competition of the Xbox 360 and the PlayStation 3, easily becoming the best-selling console of the generation. So how did they do it? How did this beat this? Let me ask you another question. Why do you play games? I mean, we can argue all we want about whether or not they're art, we can talk about the stories that they tell, the way in which they tell them, but when it comes right down to it, why do you play? Because it's fun. The Wii took that fun that we gamers have been experiencing for decades and packaged it in a way that your grandmother can understand. This is a Wii remote. When you hold it this way, looks like a TV remote. This way, looks like an NES controller. It has relatively few buttons and can also register simple motion controls, so to interact with a game, you just point and click. It's something that everyone can do, and judging by the sales, I'd say everyone did. The Wii took gaming from a niche hobby and turned it into a global obsession for people of all ages. Suddenly that E for everyone wasn't a suggestion. It was an order that everyone play this game. Seriously, my grandpa is higher ranked on Mario Kart Wii than I am, and I have an apartment that looks like this. On top of the standard Wii remote, you also had attachments like the nunchuck, which gave more experienced gamers a way to interact with more complex games. The classic controller, which turned the SNES controller into a dual analog controller. Say all you want about the Wii being a game system for kids, it's a game system for anyone who enjoys fun. I have plenty of T and M-rated games for my Wii. Just give me a second to calm down. Sorry, I have strong opinions about some of these systems. Okay, I think I'm okay. The Nintendo 3DS is truly a technical marvel. Obviously, it was the first commercially successful device to use glasses-free 3D, but when it comes to controls, it's got a lot going on. Perhaps the greatest advancement when it comes to physical controls on the 3DS is the circle pad. This sliding pad gives the player the same degree of input as a thumbstick, but with a low profile, no higher than a D-pad. This allowed Nintendo to keep the clamshell design originally engineered for the Game & Watch, which keeps the screen safe from scratches when carried in your pocket or in a purse. In fact, the button layout on the 3DS is exactly the same as the button layout on the Dreamcast, which makes it seem kind of odd that we've not got a single Dreamcast port on the 3DS, especially seeing how cozied up to Nintendo Sega's gotten the past few years. The 3DS also features a touchscreen with enhanced sensitivity over the original, along with gyroscopic motion controls. The 3DS has gone through a few different iterations since it first launched, but the first major change happened just recently. The new 3DS adds a C-stick and 2 additional shoulder buttons to allow for more traditional dual analog style gaming, along with significant improvements to the hardware itself. And now, finally, we're here. Nintendo's latest home console, the Wii U. And you know what? Regardless of console sales, the Wii U is the single most innovative system of this generation. Period. While we've all heard the old argument that last-gen graphics make the Wii U last-gen, what truly makes a console next-gen is doing something new. And when it comes to doing new things, the Wii U is in a class of its own. The Wii U Gamepad is an incredible piece of technology that is yet to be matched by anything else. The Gamepad receives a wireless lag-free video stream from the Wii U while simultaneously sending button, motion, voice, and touch input back to the Wii U console. It makes the Vita look like a cheap toy, which is why I sold my Vita. Taking inspiration from the GameCube and Game Boy Advance connectivity, the Wii U offers a perfect multi-screen experience that cannot be replicated by any other console. Need to swap out your items? Don't pause the game, just glance down and drag them out of your inventory. Want to play local multiplayer without split screen? No problem, just put one player on the Gamepad's massive screen and the other player on the TV. Want to keep playing while someone else is on the TV or while you're in bed? Go for it! The Wii U Gamepad draws upon Nintendo's long history of designing controllers, whether the simple inclusion of Yokoi's revolutionary D-pad, the Game & Watch's multi-screen experience, the GameCube's connectivity, the DS's touchscreen, or the Wii's motion controls. The Wii U Gamepad is the most incredible gamepad Nintendo has ever designed. For nearly 40 years, Nintendo has been reinventing the way we interact with video games. Their competitors mock their out-of-the-box designs before inevitably mimicking them. The D-pad and face button diamond found on every Sony and Microsoft controller, the dual analog controller itself, the PlayStation Move, the Kinect, the Vita's touchscreen, the PS4's touchpad, a second screen mobile app for tablets and smartphones. It's all Nintendo. The next time somebody tells you that Nintendo is behind the times, tell them to hang on a second. Microsoft and Sony should be along shortly. Thank you guys so much for watching this entire series. I hope you enjoyed learning a little bit more about Nintendo's history. Of course, if you haven't seen the first couple episodes, you should definitely check those out. There's a playlist right here with all of them. If you like learning more about Nintendo's history and kind of the inner workings of the company, you can go check out the new show Know Your Developers, which is being done by myself and Neil Ronahan right here. It goes through some of the development teams at Nintendo, talks about the key players, and makes some predictions about what they might be working on next. If you need even more of me in your life, you can go subscribe to my channel right here. And of course, most importantly, don't forget to subscribe to Nintendo World Report TV using this big, convenient red button that I have placed right there. Once again, my name is John Reardon. Thank you very, very, very much for sticking with me through this series, and I look forward to seeing you again. Bye!